Hey, it's KDO, and you're listening to Hank Jr. on Hank's Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hank's Corner. I am your host, Hank Jr., part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm telling you I'm documenting those life moments through photography, videography, and now podcasting. And this week, I'm doing something a little bit different here, where I'm having artists that are going to be taking part in the Freedom Jam SeMo 23, which is going to be on May 20th of this year. And as you guys know, I've always been promoting Freedom Jam, and I've been out to a couple of ones. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make this one, but that's why I got to have these guests on to be able to talk to them. So I want to go ahead and welcome my first guest from Freedom Jam. Please welcome KDO. Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. And I always tell everybody that my little Hank's Corner is somewhere in the Tampa area, but you're also a Floridian, correct?
Yes, sir. I am actually in Jacksonville, Florida right now.
Okay. And so I actually was into Jacksonville not too long ago. I guess it was last week or the week before. These weeks all kind of run together. And while I was there, I had to get me a Whataburger because being from Texas and Corpus Christi, where they started out at, we don't get to have them in Tampa. So got me one there in Jacksonville.
Yes, sir. That's awesome. That's the happening place, too. In Jacksonville, sometimes after shows, we'll go to like Whataburger, McDonald's, and sometimes there's just a line around the whole entire building.
Oh, I bet. And what is your choice there at Whataburger?
I'm pretty basic. I just get like the regular cheeseburger and a fries and lemonade.
Okay, I do the double Whataburger, and my kids often do the chicken tenders. But either way you go, you got to get that shake.
Oh, I forgot about their shakes. Oh, they're good.
They definitely are, especially when you're dipping those fries in there. And the other thing that I got to do while I was over there that we don't have quite over here that originated in Texas was that the Buc-ee's is not too far from there.
Yes, sir. Oh my goodness. The first time I went there, I was kind of overwhelmed. I'm not gonna lie, because there were a ton of people. But that place, oh my goodness, it is so big, and they have pretty much everything. It's insane.
Yeah, for those who don't know Buc-ee's, you won't believe it until you see it. And it's people, we say it's like a gas station on steroids, but it really isn't. It's a gas station. It's got the cleanest bathrooms, but it's almost like a Walmart when you go in there.
It is.
Yeah, so I definitely enjoy going there. And so Jacksonville is always a good place to visit whenever I get the chance. And so we're talking about Freedom Jam. Brian Judy introduced me to you. I mean, I've been following you for a while, but he got the hook up there, and I always got to credit him because he's the man. But you're going to be out there on May 20th, and the headliner is going to be Myles, which I will have next on my show. But also I had Taylor Hughes that was on here not too long ago, along with Just Enough, Austin Dixon, and Christie, Huff, who will also be later on in the show. And so tell me, being a part of all these great artists, how is that?
It's absolutely amazing. I haven't met any of the artists performing at Freedom Jam yet, but I've looked at all their videos on social media, and each and every one of them are so talented. So to anyone listening, please come out to Freedom Jam, because you are not going to want to miss these artists. And I'm actually really excited to meet them. It's always cool to see other musicians and hear their story and their journey.
Yeah, and when you talk about talent, you definitely fit in right there. I mean, you're a talented girl yourself, and you're going to be out there with these. But that's the nature of what Brian puts together, and it's not just Brian. There's a lot of other people that put this together, but I always deal with him the most, and he's had great names on there, and a lot of them have been on the show. And not only is it great names, great music, and great entertainment, but it's for a great cause. Tell us a little bit about the cause.
Yes, sir. All of the proceeds will be going to the Phoenix Veterans Pantry. And hopefully I said that right. And I'm very excited to be a part of it. I've done a couple veteran events in the past, and Oh my goodness. It's just absolutely amazing to give back and just to see everyone come together for a great cause.
Yeah, and you talk about talking to the artists there, which is nice, and I enjoy talking to the artists. But when you talk to some of the veterans there and you hear their stories, I mean, it just reminds you again, that to be so thankful for those who put their lives on the line for us, and some of the stories that they have is just amazing. And I can't recreate that here on the podcast, but when you're talking to those veterans, man, their story is so powerful.
Yes, sir, you are exactly right. I've met many veterans over my music journey, and just like you said, hearing their like story in person is, oh my gosh, it just, your respect just keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's absolutely amazing, and I'm so incredibly honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I mean, Brian gives me just a little bit of a part in it, but hey, I'll take it. I love it. I love that he invites me up there, and I'll definitely be at the one that's at the end of September. But unfortunately, I just with my schedule, I'm not going to make the one in May. But as far as patriotism and all that, you've done the national anthem at quite a bit of places, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm actually doing the national anthem on Wednesday, very soon, for another event, actually for a police memorial. And that's another thing. It's just such an honor to be able to sing the national anthem, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and if you had the opportunity to sing the national anthem anywhere, and you just could, pick any place, where would you have liked to do that?
Oh my goodness. That's a difficult question. Um, Honestly, I haven't thought too much about it. Um, Pretty much anywhere, I'd have to say. Like, even if it's just for a couple of people or if it's for a ton of people, I always love singing it and supporting our country.
Now, and I was, just wondering where you would go, and you're right, whether it's a little bit or a lot, because it does mean a lot, that song. But I thought maybe you would go big and say something. Well, like at the Super Bowl, I would love to do the national anthem or something like that.
Well, now that you said that, that would be really cool. I'm not gonna lie, that would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. If you could do that. And, one of my guests that I had on here before was Sarah Faith, and she actually got to do it. I guess it wasn't this past year's, the year before, for the Cotton Bowl. And so, it's just great when, singers like that just belt out the national anthem. And I've heard you sing it. I enjoy when you sing it. And hopefully I'll actually get to hear that in person. But as far as, your music and stuff, how often do you get to Tennessee?
Oh my goodness, I'm up there as much as I can. Almost every month. That's been my goal for a while. Since I live in Jacksonville and I'm still in school, I do online school, so it makes it very flexible to travel and go to Tennessee and do different shows. So I'd say I try to get up there at least every single month. And oh my goodness, every time I go up there, I never want to come back. Just all the music and being surrounded by so many amazing artists is incredible.
Yeah, judging by your social media, I can tell that you're always having a ball up there. And I personally always love going up to Tennessee, whether it's Nashville itself or more recently, I got to do the mountainside over there in Gatlinburg. It's such a great place. And since we're talking about Tennessee, I know you have a song "Tennessee on My Mind" that you might want to sing for us here today. How about we play it here?
Let's do it. I'm tired of this old city. I've had all I can take. I think I'm gonna buy me a ticket. Somehow I've got to get away. Oh, Tennessee, Tennessee is calling me. Guitar strumming in the fiddle near, banjo picking loud and clear. Tennessee is on my mind. I might head up to the mountains, leave that city life behind. The only bright lights that I like are singing on that stage night. Tennessee. my mind. Oh, Tennessee, Tennessee is calling me. Guitar strumming in the fiddle near, banjo picking loud and clear. Tennessee is on my mind. Oh, Tennessee, Tennessee is calling me. Guitar strumming in the fiddle near, banjo picking loud and clear. Tennessee is on my mind. Tennessee is on my mind. Tennessee is on my mind.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr., and that is KDO singing Tennessee on My Mind. And that's just great. I'm glad to get you on the podcast and hearing you sing this. I mean, I got to, hear a little bit more, I guess, live was when you were on the Freedom Jam Takeover, which was probably the first time I really got to listen to you kind of live. You play a lot of shows. They're just kind of a little bit too far for me to travel sometimes to get to, but it's wonderful to have you here on the show tonight.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, and a lot of the artists that I have on, sometimes they have to go way back into their memories to answer this next question, because during this segment, I like to know, how did everything get started? And, how did you progress? You don't have to go that far back, but nevertheless, tell me a little bit about how you got started and what made you want to pursue music.
Well, growing up, I always loved music. And as you can tell from my social media and from videos I post, I love classic country. And honestly, when I was younger, I'm 17 now, but when I was younger, I was super shy. Like, I was the kid who really didn't want to talk to people. When my mom would take me to school, I'd hold on to her leg and I'd say, please, please take me with you. And so really that kind of held me back at first. I kind of just sang at the house. And then when I was 10 years old, my mom and I were at a pizza restaurant and they were having an open mic night. And that night I saw people singing and I looked at my mom and I was like, I want to sing. And she kind of looked at me like, are you sure? Like, I don't know about this. And I was like, no, I want to sing. And so she went up there and put my name on the list and they called my name and I sang 2 songs a cappella that night. And that was kind of the moment I just knew right away. I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And then not long after, I started getting vocal lessons and guitar lessons and just completely fell in love with it. And looking back, my mom always says that she now sees that how much I loved music, because for school I used to learn all my schoolwork by making up songs. And I did all the states. I made a state song for a quiz, and I just would always make up little melodies and little rhymes. So kind of looking back, it was always in me, but that's kind of how I started. And then as I grew up, I started singing little festivals and little events, and then I started songwriting, and I've been doing it ever since.
Okay. And, you said you were kind of a little nervous at first. How about now? Do you get nervous when you get out there on stage?
Honestly, I do not. Every now and then, if it's kind of a newer venue or a bigger venue, maybe a tiny bit. But I mostly get like super excited to where I'm just like so pumped up and so excited. I just can't wait to get out there. But I don't get too nervous anymore.
Okay, that's interesting here, because everybody's different. I hear some people start out very nervous, and then they, just like you, maybe they just naturally, go out there and it's so easy. And then I even hear the reverse, where they start out, kind of being able to do it as a child, and then they get older, and then they're doing things to help get ready for the show because they are so nervous. And it's kind of weird to hear that, and that's kind of cool to hear. But as far as the songwriting, now you said you're a songwriter too. How long have you been songwriting, you said?
Looking back, I used to always write down little phrases and sentences in like books when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Hmm.
But I never really completed anything. But lately, these past 3 years, I've really been writing a lot, and especially this year, I've been trying to just really write and write and write. And I've really grown to just love it so much. Like if there's ever anything on my mind or anything weighing on my heart, it just is kind of like therapy almost, just being able to write it. It's truly amazing.
Now, do you write mostly lyrics, or do you do the melody, or do you do both?
I do both. Sometimes I'll just have a melody, and I have a ton of melodies stored in my voice memos on my phone. But sometimes I do just lyrics. It kind of depends on the day. I don't have a set process for songwriting, but I like to do both.
And do you ever collaborate with other artists when you're writing your songs?
Yes, sir, totally. There's a song actually titled Airplane Mode I wrote, which was the first co-write I ever did in Nashville. And that's been about 3.5 years ago now. And it's always so much fun to write with other people.
How do you get your energy flowing? Like I know sometimes you say that well, if it comes to you, you'll write it down, but especially when you're co-writing with somebody, there has to be kind of like a jumping off point. How do you prepare and get ready to write a song?
Um, I kind of bring a lot of ideas to the table. Like either if I have melodies, I'll sing them and strum them, or sometimes I'll just have a bunch of titles. And other days I'll have like maybe a verse and a chorus, or maybe just a verse. And sometimes I'm not going to lie, I don't have any ideas. Sometimes there's days like that, and they'll kind of bring ideas. But it's really cool to see the process, like something that I might have never thought of, they think of, and it just becomes something totally amazing and different than what you thought it was going to be.
Wow, very interesting. Now, tell me who you mentioned some of the older, people being influences. Tell me who are your influences? Who you admire and why.
There is a ton, but my top are like Miss Loretta Lynn, George Jones, Conway Twitty, Tanya Tucker, and sometimes I go way back to like Hank Snow and
Hmm.
Ernest Tubb, Tennessee Ernie Ford. I think it's really cool to see like how music has evolved over time and hearing how songwriting has changed and melodies. And I'd have to say Loretta Lynn though is probably one of my favorites. I actually got to go to her ranch, I think when I was 13 years old, and seeing all of her like original lyrics and notes and just everything she had written over the years. It was amazing to see. And I always thought it was so cool that she wrote from experience and like everything she sang, she lived. I thought that was just amazing.
Wow, what a great thing to get to do. Now I'm interested in seeing something like that. And and it's always interesting to me, when I start to interview, and I say younger artists because most people are younger than me, and they talk a little bit about some of these old classic country artists. Because when I kind of was growing up, it was a lot of '90s, maybe a little bit of '80s music, and then of course when we changed into the new millennium, but a lot of those people that like the '90s music, they really didn't go back to some of these classics like that. And we kind of got lost in the shuffle, so to speak. But it's so great to see that some of these other artists now are really bringing it back. And you keep doing that because that's what I like to see.
Thank you very much. I love it. Like when you hear the steel guitar, the fiddle, and don't get me wrong, I think every single type of music is cool. And I think new country and some of the stuff that's coming out now is cool too. Because I listen to every single genre of music. Some days it's bluegrass. Actually, before we got on, I was listening to like Ralph Stanley and Patty Loveless. But then other days I'll listen to classic rock, sometimes heavier rock. I even listen to some country rap sometimes too.
Okay. And does some of those influences from the all the genres, do they make it into your show?
Totally. Yes, sir. Sometimes in my show, I'll throw in some like Leonard Skinner or Eagle songs. And then other times I'll do I don't know if you're familiar with the Cranberries, but they have a couple songs I'll throw in. Kind of a little bit of everything. It really depends on the day. I'll just kind of throw in a bunch of different songs sometimes.
Okay, so for those of you who get a chance to go see KDO out there at Freedom Jam, you don't know what you're going to expect. It's going to be a mixed bag out there, and we'll see what it brings. But I'd like to request a song, and I was hoping that maybe you could play "How I Was Raised."
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. Mama always taught us wrong and right. She read us first chapter every night. Family was everything. This country has the song I sing. I thank my lucky stars today. I was brought up just this way, where everyone knows everyone, and we lend a helping hand. We say a prayer for supper, and we say yes sir and ma'am. It may not seem like a real big deal to a lot of folks these days, but those good old-fashioned traditions are just how I was raised. We remember those who lost their lives, the ones that made the greatest sacrifice. We stand with our hands on our hearts when we hear that anthem start. We're proud that we came from these parts, small town USA, where everyone knows everyone, and we lend a helping hand. We say a prayer for supper, and we say yes sir and ma'am. It may not seem like a real big deal to a lot of folks these days, but those good old-fashioned traditions are just how I was raised. Where everyone knows everyone, and we lend a helping hand. We say a prayer for supper, and we say yes sir and ma'am. It may not seem like a real big deal to a lot of folks these days, but those good old-fashioned traditions are just how I was raised. Those good old-fashioned traditions are just how I was raised.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. You heard KDO. She will be performing at the Freedom Jam USA SeMo 23 on May 20th out there in Missouri, along with headliner Morgan Myles, who will be on the next episode of my show, as long as with my good friend Taylor Hughes and other great artists that will be out there. And going back to that song that you just played, How I Was Raised. Now, I am guessing, based on what I know about you, that that's really how you were raised. That's a true story right there.
Yes, sir. It's 100% true.
And because I do see a lot of family stuff on your social media, do you really have a close family like that?
Oh my goodness, totally. I have 3 older brothers, and we are all like super close, best friends. I always tell everyone, like growing up, I know a lot of people have best friends, and I'm always like, my best friends were always my brothers. We would fish together and ride 4-wheelers together, kind of do everything together. And we're also very close. My mom, she's always there at every single one of my shows and just so supportive. And so are my brothers. They come to some of my shows, but they hear me sing all the time at home. So I kind of let them know, I'm like, it's all right if you don't want to come, because I know you always hear me at home. But we're all super, super close.
Now, a lot of times I bring to the forefront that, obviously as an artist, you're out front, but there's a lot of people on the behind the scenes that make things happen. Is that your family kind of back there too, making things happen, or do you have another way of doing stuff?
It's 100% my family. They all help me with videos. Sometimes I'll have my brother just record me, and sometimes they inspire songs, and they're just always there and very, very supportive.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I've seen on your social media as well that made it into the song is your faith. Tell me about your faith and how important that is to you in making your daily decisions as well as within your music career.
Yes, sir. I'd have to say God is my rock and my fortress and just everything. And I know for a fact I would not be who I am or where I am today without the Lord. He's just guided me pretty much every single way in my career. I always pray like before my shows, and it just gives me so much peace and comfort. And I would not be where I am without Him.
Yeah, it's always great to hear when people actually realize that, and I applaud you for putting that in your social media, because sometimes people just don't want to do that because they don't want to face any backlash or anything because of that. But I do applaud you for taking that stand and sharing your faith.
Thank you very much. I think it's important too, because I know sometimes if I'm having a down day and I see like a scripture or kind of something uplifting someone post, it always kind of gives me a little burst of sunshine. And I think it's important to spread the word as much as we can.
Definitely. Now, you already kind of touched on it. One of the things I like to know is when artists aren't actually playing music or thinking about music or writing music or, everything that they do with music, what are you doing in your spare time? And I'm guessing you do a lot of outdoor stuff.
Yes, sir, totally. As you can tell, sometimes on my social media, I'll post fishing pictures of like brim and bass, sometimes saltwater. But if I'm not singing, I'm most likely fishing or on a four-wheeler or maybe riding a bike or at the beach. But sometimes I like to just cuddle up and read a good book too.
Okay, definitely a lot of fun stuff there, and you can do all that here in Florida. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy being here now, along with everything else that Florida brings along with it. But we talked a little bit about food earlier. I always like to talk about food in this segment as well. What are some of your favorite foods that you like? And when you go to Nashville, what are some of the favorite foods you like up there?
Oh my goodness. I'd have to say one of my favorite meals. I love chicken and dumplings. And growing up, my grandma, she taught me how to make them, and I'd always make them with her and roll them out and cut them and all that good stuff. And oh my goodness, I just have the best memories of being at her house, just making chicken and dumplings. So that's up there on the
Mm.
list. But pretty much, I'm not a picky eater. I eat pretty much anything, seafood, barbecue. But when I was in Nashville last time, I can't remember the place it was, but I had these Cajun deviled eggs, and I'm
Mm.
not a really big egg type of person, but I just decided to go out on a limb and try them. And oh my goodness, if you ever get a chance, I'll have to look it up. I think it's on my social media somewhere, but those were the best deviled eggs ever. Like I absolutely love them. I would get them again. Um, but really, I'm trying to think of other places in Nashville. Hmm. Sometimes after a show in Nashville, we'll go to Shoney's, and they have
Mm.
like the super big lava chocolate cake. And if you've never had it, and if you're a chocolate person, you have to go try it because I love chocolate and it is absolutely amazing.
Okay, now you definitely piqued my interest. I like deviled eggs, and now I got to try Cajun style, and then some good old country food over at Shoney's along with the chocolate cake. But I had to make sure that I brought the food segment back in because Brian's over here texting us and everything, and he says when you get to St. Louis, you got to try that toasted ravioli. Now he didn't tell me about it, so now I'm kind of curious on what this toasted ravioli tastes like.
I've never even heard of that.
Well, apparently it's a thing out there in Missouri. So when you get out there, make sure you try some of that.
I will definitely try it.
All right. And you mentioned airplane mode earlier in the show. I was wondering if you can finish the podcast with that song.
Absolutely. Let's do it. flying high till you tried to clip my wings. Don't tell me what I'm supposed to be, 'cause you don't own my dreams. Now you can't get to me, I'm going on airplane mode. Ain't listening to you no more. On airplane mode. This is me walking out your door. You can text, you can call, you can talk to the wall. It's all the same, 'cause I'll never know. Got you on airplane mode. I got you on airplane mode. This road I'm on can be a lonely one, but I don't mind being alone. 'Cause I need to be all kinds of free to sing my own song. So honey, you ain't coming along. I'm going on airplane mode. Ain't listening to you no more. On airplane mode. This is me walking out your door. You can text, you can call, you can talk to the wall. It's all the same, 'cause I'll never know. I got you on airplane mode. I got you on airplane mode. I got you on airplane mode.
And that was Katie O singing the one song that always gets stuck in my head when I listen to it. And it's such a catchy beat. I love it. I appreciate you playing that song here on Hank's Corner. And, you can see Katie O out there with headliner Morgan Myles, who'll be next on my show. My good friend Taylor Hughes, Just Enough, Austin Dixon, and Christie Huff out there on Freedom Jam USA. So we know you got that's coming up, but what's left for you for the remainder of the year?
Oh my goodness. I have a couple private parties this month that are happening. This month is kind of a private party type of month. Some graduations, some other weddings, other little things like that. But off the top of my head, I know I have some bars and restaurants around Florida coming up. But definitely go check out my social media. I'll be posting all my schedule and everywhere I'll be very, very soon. But one of the shows I'm looking forward to is Freedom Jam. I'm not going to lie. It'll be my first time in Missouri, so it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you'll definitely enjoy that. And, as Katie said, please follow her on social media. You can follow on all the social medias, but also at katieomusic.com as well. And you can find out where she may be, or you can even request her to do a private event for you. I know that would be awesome. But Katie, I appreciate you so much for coming on my show. If you ever want to be a guest on Hank's Corner, you're more than welcome to do so.
Oh, thank you so, so much for having me. It's been a blast.